Hello and welcome to APT University. Today we're going to be taking a look at our fourth level pricing, which is our price list feature. This allows us to create or import price lists that exist independent of any customers, and it lets us modify pricing based on margins. We'll be touching on how to create these price lists and how to import them, as well as how to apply them to an individual customer or a customer group. Now, if you'd like to learn more about AdvancePro, you can find all of our previous APTU videos on advanceprotech.com under the Resources tab or on our YouTube channel. Now, as I mentioned, price lists are a fourth level pricing in AdvancePro. The first level is the default selling price on a product. The second level is an across-the-board pricing rule, so a certain customer gets 10% off of everything. Third level pricing is a product specific price rule, and that would give a certain customer a certain discount on a certain product or a category of products. And you could also apply on all these out to a customer group as well. And now we get into the fourth level pricing. So this is a price list that we can generate, and then we can assign a whole price list out to the customers. Now, our pricing system makes each level of pricing completely overrule the previous level. They do not stack. So if a customer is part of a group that has a second level price, such as a 10% off everything rule, and the customer has a price list applied, then on the products that are included in that price list, the customer will receive exactly the price on the price list, not 10% plus that price. So if the items aren't on the price list at all, the customer is going to continue to receive that second level price rule, giving them 10% off the selling price for that item. It's just an adjustment on top of that. So they don't stack together. These are fixed pricing at each level, and each level overrules them. Okay, overrules the previous ones. So to manage price lists in AdvancePro, you are going to navigate to our Products tab, and you're going to go to our Global Pricing Manager, Global Pricing. So this is where you manage almost all of our pricing through AdvancePro over and above your default selling prices. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come to the All Price Lists tab. And here we can look at a third level pricing for a given customer as a price list, or a fifth level, which we're going to get to in a future episode. And we're really focused today on View All Price Lists fourth level. This is our main price lists area. So here we can actually create price lists, as well as we can go ahead and set up how price lists may apply to a customer. So let's go ahead and we'll go into create a new price list, and you can see we can also export a given price list to Excel. We can also bring them from Excel, which I'll show you in a moment. So right up at the top of this create price list screen, we've got the price list name that's required. So we'll call this price list 1. And we also have the actual period of that price list. So we can actually create a promotion that would kick it over to a fifth level price list, but we can create an expiry. Okay. Now here we can set up how we're going to lock the pricing. And if there's a certain sales rep when they're selling to any customer that would normally get this, that if that sales rep is involved, they're going to have to give their regular pricing. So this way you can create reps who have access to different price levels by default. So here, if we lock the pricing to margin, that means everything's going to be based off the margin column. Let me add a product in here. Let's grab this product, and we just add items to this price list. Now here, if we want to maintain a margin, right now we're getting a 33% margin with our default selling price, but we can go ahead and change that. So let's lock this to the margin. So that's going to dictate our actual price. And let's say we always want a 20% margin. So that's actually going to go ahead and output a new custom price. And when this is locked to the margin, if our cost prices change, the margin is going to adjust, and the final price that we give to the customer is going to adjust to maintain that margin. Now we can also work with a discount or markup. So then we would fill in either the markup or discount field. So in this case, we could say we want a 20% discount, or if we're working with markup instead, we could say we want a 40% markup. And that's all going to dictate what final price this customer is going to get. The markup is always in relation to our cost price from our default vendor, or our average cost. And in this way, we can easily say if the vendor changes their pricing, we're going to maintain that 40% markup. So there's a difference between markup and margin. Markup is a percentage of the cost that's applied over that initial cost price to create the final selling price, whereas margin is the percentage of the final price that's going to be different. And you can see a 28% margin is a 40% markup. So that's how we can, that's what those two different fields do. Now the discount is always in relation to our default selling price. So your default selling price for any of these is typically your highest price, and you discount from there. Now you could do a negative markup, which would be below cost, or a negative discount, which would be above selling price. So we could do that as well. And then finally, you can put in notes, or we can lock to a custom price. And if we set that custom price, this is great for a contract where you've said for the next year, or then until things need to be renegotiated with this customer, we promise you a specific price, and we don't want it to float depending on cost or other market changes. So that's what kind of the top half of this page does. Now, do keep in mind, if you're using price lists, you do have to come in and actually add product to this price list. You can work by SKU, or you can search by product name or category. And just like on a vendor or customer sales order, you can do a search for any relevant product to the part of a SKU or part of a product name that you've put in, and you can just go check those items off. Or you can do a blank search. If you want to add all items, you just check off and you add all items to this list. But if you add in a new item, keep in mind you'll need to come into this price list and add that item to the price list. Okay, so let's say we get hundreds of different items. This next area on the lower left allows us to change everything all at once, so we don't have to come into each field. So if we want to say we want to increase our margin across the entire price list, or selected items, we can check them off, by 2%, okay? Or we want to increase the custom price by $2. We can do that. So increase it by for 2 items from its cost, or from its current custom price, and then we can do a mass adjustment. And you can see our current custom price just went up by $2 from $210 to $212. All our other calculations kind of adjusted for that. Now, we can also set rounding rules. So we can make this huge adjustment, and we might end up with 212.501. So that 1 is a tenth of a cent. So we can actually create a rounding rule to round it to the nearest cent, or to the nearest 2 cents, or to the nearest 50 minus 1, the nearest 49 or 99 cents, or the nearest 99 cents. So this way we can easily make it so that even with that price list, even with all the discounts we're offering, we can set certain levels where we want it on the nearest 9 cents, or the nearest 49 cents, or the nearest 99 cents. Now down in the bottom, we can set up how we want to save this. So we can set it as a 4th level price list, and we can go ahead and apply it. And then we can save this out once we've gone ahead and set everything up. Now, one thing we do have to do is we have to set an average cost calculation. And this comes in handy, particularly if you're using multiple warehouses, or if you have a particularly volatile market that you're dealing with. And maybe you only want to calculate the average cost over the last month. And that way your margin and your markup is only going to be relevant over the last month. So if you're dealing in a commodity that was maybe traditionally very cheap, like copper, but over the past few years has gotten very volatile and very expensive, you could go ahead and set this up so that it's only looking at what the price is currently. And for a certain warehouse, we can actually incorporate your landed costs in here. So if it's more expensive to get the goods into a specific warehouse, you can create a price list for the customers who you ship out of that warehouse to reflect the difference in cost in that location. So that's just a little look at how to create a price list. Let's back out. Let's talk about how to apply this price list. First, to a group. So we can come into a group. We're just here in the Global Pricing Options and Promotions tab. And if we've got a customer group set up, we can just check it off, come to Apply Price List, choose a price list that we want to apply, click Apply. That whole group will get that price list. If we want to apply it to an individual customer, we can just come into View Customers, go ahead and search for a given customer, click the E for Edit button, and we're going to find that price list under Additional Info. So we can go and choose that price list right here. So that's how we can apply to a specific customer. Now, what if we've already applied a price list to a specific customer and we want to apply it to a whole group? Or what if we've already applied it to a whole group and we want to apply it to a new customer in that group, or if for some reason our pricing in that group has shifted, what we want to do is we want to come into the Customers tab. We're going to come to Customer Groups, and we can set up groups for all kinds of things. So we can easily add a group. Let's call it Discount 10%, or they could be our distributors group. We can add customers into that group. Just go ahead and associate this group. Go ahead and take a look at our customer groups and product categories for more details here. But once we've got that customer, if they've got special pricing applied, we can just go ahead and set them as what we call our default price customer for that group. And once we've chosen that, we could use that default price customer to add a new customer to the group. So what that means is when we add that customer, we're going to get prompted, do we want to use the default prices customer pricing for this new customer and apply it? So anybody new that's added to this group will receive that pricing. Now, let's say something happened. We have some customers that got added and they didn't get that default customer pricing, or we didn't get the right pricing. We're changing up how we're doing our pricing. We can choose a customer that's a member of the group that already has the right pricing, and we can say rerun the pricing using that default price customer's pricing, run it across the entire group. So we just hit rerun pricing, and that's going to go ahead and do it. That's going to go ahead and give us our very new pricing for the entire group. So that's a little bit about how to manage those groups and how to manage pricing across the entire group. Now, one thing to note is when you use that default customer's pricing, that includes pricing from all 5 pricing levels. So you really are going to create a complete duplicate pricing model for each customer, the 2nd level, the 3rd level, the 4th level, and so on. Okay, so at this point, we've gone ahead and applied that out to our groups. So that's a little bit about how to create a price list, how to manage it with individual customers and customer groups. Let's conclude by talking about importing 4th level price lists. So 4th level price lists, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set up a price list that's got the SKU of the product name, the price list name, and the price markup, discount, or margin, depending on which one you want to use as a column on itself. So that's one of the custom price, the markup or discount, or the margin. Okay. So I'll actually just pop back to our global pricing manager so you can get a bit of a reference for that. We're essentially going to bring in that price list table exactly the way you saw it. So we're going to come over to products, we go to global pricing, and we'll just come into our new price list. So you will want to make a spreadsheet that has the SKU, the product name. You don't need the cost because we're going to calculate that automatically. If you're importing from a spreadsheet, the default is going to be the average cost. Once it's in AdvancePro, if you want to change that calculation, that's easy to do. You just come into this screen again. You'll have it accessible here as a price list to view, and you just go and open it up. Let's go ahead and come in here. Now, you want the SKU, you want the product, and you will want one of margin, markup, discount, or custom price. You can also bring in a customer SKU this way. So this is one way that we can set up customer SKUs. This or 3rd level pricing are the main ways to create customer SKUs. So once you've imported that price list as a 4th level price list, at that point now, you'll be able to come into the screen and edit that. Okay, I'll show you where you can import them. There's 2 places in the software. One is from right here in the Global Pricing Manager. We'll actually be able to upload a new price list from Excel. And that's right here in Product Pricing. We'll come into Import Customer Pricing. You just browse for your file, and you'll either import 3rd level pricing or 4th level pricing. 4th level pricing is the feature I've shown you today. If you want to learn more about 3rd level pricing, go ahead and check out our product-specific pricing, 3rd level pricing video as well. Okay, so that's the first place, and it's the exact same way to deal with it, but you can also do it from your admin tools. So you can come into admin, you can come into utilities, and what you're going to do is you're just going to come to Excel import export, and you can see we can now import customer pricing. Again, you just browse for that file, you go ahead and grab it, and you import the 4th level pricing structure. All right, so this concludes today's summary of the entire 4th level pricing. Now, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to your AdvancePro advisor or file a tech support ticket. Have a great day.